The UAP task force was refused access to a broad crash retrieval program.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
What? Did he just say? Quite a few? Nah. I can't believe it. It would mean we being lied to. By science, religion, politics. That can't be plausible.
Steve? What are you babbling about? Shut up and start the show.
Welcome to Are You Confused Yet? A journey into the realms of truth and conspiracies. In this series of videos, we will embark on a thought-provoking exploration, starting with the origins of the military-industrial complex and how it evolved through the compartmentalization of secrecy. As we delve deeper, we'll uncover the crucial involvement of the private sector in creating and privatizing the weapon industry, and shed light on the giant corporations that play a significant role in this complex web that in time were to be known as the shadow government. Our journey begins with the cataclysmic events of World War I and World War II, two pivotal moments that reshaped the world's political and economic landscapes. Amid the chaos of war, the need for advanced weaponry and military technology led to the rise of the military-industrial complex, a term first coined by President Dwight D. Eisenhower. Now let's hear what President Dwight D. Eisenhower said in his last speech to the American public.
But threats, new in kind or degree, constantly arise. Of these I mention two only. A vital element in keeping the peace is our military establishment. Our arms must be mighty, ready for instant action, so that no potential aggressor may be tempted to risk his own destruction. Our military organization today bears little relation to that known of any of my predecessors in peacetime, or indeed by the fighting men of World War II or Korea. Until the latest of our world conflicts, the United States had no armaments industry. American makers of plowshares could, with time and as required, make swords as well. But we can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. We annually spend on military security alone more than the net income of all United States corporations. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
But who, or what, is this industrial military complex that everybody talks about? Well, it started when 6 corporations that have been operating for centuries starting owning the productions of different weapon systems. Here are the 6 major corporations and their respective owners or founding families that have played significant roles in the development of weapons and military technology, from gunpowder to rockets for military use. DuPont, founded by Eleuthère Irénée DuPont in 1802, DuPont started as a gunpowder manufacturer. It later expanded into a wide range of chemical and material products, including munitions during World War I and World War II for all sides. Colt's Manufacturing Company, founded by Samuel Colt in 1855, Colt's Manufacturing is renowned for its firearms production, including revolvers and rifles, which played a vital role in American history. Krupp, originally founded in 1587 by the Krupp family in Germany, the company evolved into a major armaments manufacturer and played a significant role in Germany's military buildup during the late 19th and early 20th centuries, making billions from the war. Lockheed Martin, formed as a merger between Lockheed Corporation and Martin Marietta in 1995, Lockheed Martin is one of the largest defense contractors in the world. They produce various military aircraft and advanced weapons. What does this mean? It means that a purely private American company make weapons for the whole world. Lockheed Corporation is the first contractor supposedly to reverse engineering the Roswell crash. But let's not talk about aliens for today. Next, Boeing, founded by William E. Boeing in 1916, Boeing started as an aircraft manufacturer and became a prominent player in the aerospace and defense industry, producing military jets and other defense systems. BAE Systems, while not a family-owned company, BAE Systems is a global defense, security, and aerospace company headquartered in the United Kingdom, which one of the majority of shareholder are the Rothschilds. It has a significant presence in the United States and is involved in various defense and technology projects. But mainly the Rockefellers. He was the mastermind behind the Standard Oil Company, a dominant force in the oil industry that monopolized refining and distribution. As the company grew in power, it faced increasing scrutiny and eventually found itself at the center of antitrust investigations. This was the first time in the U.S. history that a president, Theodore Roosevelt, representing the government, demanded each of the three giants or corporations creating monopolies: oil owned by the Rockefellers, the steel owned by Carnegie, and the energy and banking system owned by J.P. Morgan. After that, Carnegie sold his company. This deal, known as the Carnegie-Morgan Steel Deal, resulted in the creation of the United States Steel Corporation, U.S. Steel, and marked the first billion-dollar corporation in the world. J.P. Morgan, through his banking firm J.P. Morgan & Co., arranged the transaction and financed the acquisition. The deal brought together several steel companies, including Carnegie Steel, Federal Steel Company, and National Steel Company, to form the new conglomerate, United States Steel Corporation. J.P. Morgan's energy involvement had a huge effect on how we live today. Edison Electric was liquidated, which Morgan was majority shareholder, took over the company, fired Edison, and create General Electrics. And after that, he threatened Tesla investor, George Westinghouse, which in the late 1880s, acquired the patent rights to Tesla's AC system, and supported him financially to further develop and promote AC power technology. But Morgan, after threatening on starting a legal battle that would cost George Westinghouse all his money, he surrendered the patent rights to Tesla's AC system. But that's a topic for another day. Rockefeller made a strategic decision to dissolve Standard Oil in 1911. The company split into multiple smaller entities, including Exxon, Mobil, and Chevron, among others. Each of these offshoots became known as baby standards, and they continued their ventures independently, expanding their influence across the globe. J.P. Morgan also used Rockefeller idea, splitting his empire into many powerful companies. One of the most significant offspring from Rockefeller's empire was Exxon, which merged with Mobil in 1999 to form ExxonMobil, solidifying its position as one of the largest oil giants in the world. This transformation marked the evolution of Rockefeller's empire into a modern-day behemoth with a global presence. Meanwhile, in the midst of World War II, oil emerged as a vital strategic resource for military operations. The United States, recognizing the power of oil as a tool of geopolitical influence, imposed restrictions on oil exports to Japan and Germany. By cutting off their access to oil, the U.S. aimed to limit their military capabilities and curtail their aggression. But what oil? Rockefeller's oil? Defended by the U.S. Army? But I know, he only refines the oil, so now we, all nations that needs oil, are forced to protect and fight for crude. To be sent where? To any of the Rockefellers' refineries, just to be bought back. And then, those shippings needed even more protection. Provided by? You guessed it, each country military force, but paid by taxpayers' money. But this political and military move not just increased Rockefeller's wealth but his power as a corporation. And this oil embargo had a so profound impact on Japan military equipment's corner them to make a desperate moves, to secure oil resources. This led to their infamous attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941 in order to gain access to the Indonesia and the Philippines refineries. Whose refineries? Yes, Rockefeller's refineries. Drawing the United States into World War II. As the war raged on, the strategic significance of oil became increasingly evident. Nations fought not just for territorial dominance but also for control over this precious resource that powered the machinery of war. In the aftermath of World War II, the oil industry continued to shape global politics and economies, with companies like ExxonMobil continuing to play pivotal roles. The legacy of John D. Rockefeller's empire lived on through these powerful corporations, shaping the course of history and influencing the world as we know it today. And so, the Rockefellers' oil empire unfolds.
At a recent House Oversight Subcommittee hearing, 3 retired military veterans testified, shedding light on the national security implications of UFO sightings and the government's secretive approach. Ryan Graves, a former Navy pilot and founder of Americans for Safe Aerospace, emphasized that unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, pose both national security and flight safety concerns. The government has released reports on some cases, attributing them to various explanations like balloons, drones, birds, weather events, or debris. However, many sightings remain unexplained. David Fravor, a retired U.S. Navy commander, shared his encounter with advanced technology during an incident in 2004, highlighting why UAPs are considered a national security threat. The hearing serves as a platform for lawmakers, intelligence officials, and military personnel to address the issue of UAPs and advocate for increased government transparency. Tim Burchett, a Tennessee Republican, stressed the importance of uncovering the truth and addressing potential threats responsibly. While no government officials testified, earlier statements revealed that the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office is tracking 650 potential UAP cases, emphasizing that there is no credible evidence of extraterrestrial life or objects defying the laws of physics.
Wait a second, lady.
Yes?
You just said that the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office is tracking 650 potential UAP cases? And that even though they remain unexplained that there's no evidence of anything breaking the laws of physics? Let's forget the extraterrestrial part for now.
Yes?
Okay, then what is this?
There's a new video this morning that some say may be proof we're not alone in the universe. A UFO in the form of a bright light is seen descending over the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. The video is said to be taken over the weekend. Then suddenly the light shoots up into the sky. There you see it. Another video from a different angle appears to show the light doing the same.
Those can be easily explained as a weather phenomenon known as ball lightning. It is a rare and unexplained atmospheric phenomenon that appears as a luminous sphere or ball of light. It is often associated with thunderstorms and lightning strikes but is distinct from regular lightning. Ball lightning is one of the most mysterious and poorly understood natural phenomena, and scientific research on its nature and cause is ongoing. Here are some characteristics of ball lightning. Ball lightning typically appears as a glowing ball ranging from a few centimeters to a meter in diameter, although some reports describe larger sizes. It can last from a few seconds to several minutes before disappearing. Ball lightning is often reported to move slowly, hover, or drift, and it may pass through solid objects. The color of ball lightning can vary, but it is commonly described as white, yellow, orange, or red. There are some unusual properties.
What do you mean by unusual properties? You just explained an unidentified flying object with an unexplained atmospheric phenomena.
Do you wanna argue? Or can I finish? Sound. Witnesses sometimes report hearing hissing, crackling, or popping sounds associated with ball lightning. Heat. Ball lightning may emit heat, and in some cases, it is reported to cause damage or burn objects. Vanishing. Ball lightning often disappears suddenly, either by fading away or with a small explosion. Formation and theories. The exact mechanisms behind the formation of ball lightning are not yet fully understood, and there are several competing theories. Some hypotheses propose that ball lightning forms when electrical charges in the atmosphere create plasma balls. Other theories suggest that it could be related to the ionization of air or the presence of rare forms of matter. Challenges in studying ball lightning. Ball lightning is challenging to study because of its rarity, unpredictable nature, and brief appearance. Most observations of ball lightning come from eyewitness accounts, making it difficult to gather consistent and controlled data for scientific analysis. Due to these challenges, there is no widely accepted scientific explanation for ball lightning, and it remains a fascinating and elusive natural phenomenon.
So, there is no accepted scientific explanation.
It remains a fascinating and elusive natural phenomenon.
Moving on for today. There are many theories, but the fact is that the influence, reach, and power of each of these families extend as far as control of the global economy and the military. This could potentially alter the balance of democracy at any moment, just as Eisenhower warned in his last speech. In July 2023, a congressional hearing took place in which 3 whistleblowers testified under oath about the power and depth of such machinery. And here is where I want to focus on. The subject hasn't even been touched yet, and there's already one congressman who spoke as if he was going to solve the issue and keep the witnesses safe, even going as far as volunteering to call upon the Holman Rule. Let's hear what Congressman Ogles asked. If I were a lawyer, I would have objected to all his questions as speculations. Why? There's the big picture, but let's see Mr. Ogles' questions and what he proposed. Then we can analyze it, question it.
I serve on the National Security Subcommittee for the Financial Services Committee, so I really want to stay in the national security lane, if I may. So when we think about traditional adversaries and both us towards them and them towards us, we probe their capabilities. We look for weaknesses, and we collect that data, that reconnaissance for in the event we need it in the future. For each of you, yes or no question. Based off of your own experience or the data that you've been privy to, is there any indication that these UAPs could be essentially collecting reconnaissance information? Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Grush?
Fair assessment, yeah.
Mr. Fravor?
Very possible.
Again, in the national security vein, is it possible that these UAPs would be probing our capabilities? Yes or no, Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Grush?
Yes.
Fravor?
Definitely.
Is it possible that these UAPs are testing for vulnerabilities in our current systems?
Yes.
Yes. Possible.
Do you feel, based off of your experience and the information that you've been privy to, that these UAPs provide an existential threat to the national security of the United States? Mr. Graves?
Potentially.
Yes, sir, potentially.
Same answer, potentially. Yeah, I'd say definitely, potentially.
Mr. Graves and Fravor, in the event that your encounters had become hostile, would you have had the capability to defend yourself, your crew, your aircraft?
Absolutely not.
Sir?
No.
Based off of the information that you've been privy to, is there any indication that these UAPs are interested in our nuclear technology and capabilities?
Yes.
By external observation, sure, that could be a fair assessment, yeah. Yes.
Is there any indication that the Department of Energy is involved in UAP data collection and housing?
I don't have an answer.
I can't confirm or deny that in a public setting.
And could you do it in a secure setting?
Yes.
Mr. Fravor?
No, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, I think I'm the last member to go, but there clearly is a threat to the national security of the United States of America. As members of Congress, we have a responsibility to maintain oversight and be aware of these activities so that, if appropriate, we take action. I would encourage the chairman to demand that we have any and all, but in particular Mr. Grush, talk to us in a skiff, and if that access is denied, I will personally volunteer to initiate the Holman Rule against any personnel or any program or any agency that denies access to Congress. Mr. Chairman, with that, I will yield the remainder of my time to my fellow colleague from Tennessee, Mr. Burchett.
Are you confused yet? First, in their experiences based on their testimony, they were all unharmed. Second, UAPs, UFOs, ball lightning, weather balloons, Venus, angels, whatever it is, let me guess. Let's nuke them. Like an ant against a boot. And third, why ask about energy industries housing or working on it? But now let's look at some information about his career in politics to have a little bit of understanding about what I like to call credibility.
William Andrew Ogles is an American politician and businessman currently serving as the U.S. Representative for Tennessee's 5th Congressional District since 2023. A member of the Republican Party, Ogles previously held the position of mayor of Maury County, Tennessee, from 2018 to 2022. However, since becoming a congressman, Ogles has faced scrutiny over his academic background. His congressional biography initially claimed that he received his degree from Middle Tennessee State University, MTSU, where he studied policy and economics. This claim was called into question by News Channel 5 in February 2023. The investigative report revealed that in a 2009 resume and a background check of unspecified date, Ogles had claimed to have an MTSU degree in international relations with minors in psychology and English. MTSU declined to confirm Ogles' degree due to federal privacy laws protecting students' academic records. Regarding his work experience, Ogles has been involved in various ventures, including restaurant operations and real estate investment. He started his political career as the first director of the Tennessee chapter of Americans for Prosperity, a conservative political advocacy group. He also worked with the Laffer Center, advocating for fiscally conservative tax policy, and was a Club for Growth Foundation Fellow. During his political campaigns, Ogles made claims of being an economist, pointing to his work in economic and tax policy. However, News Channel 5 found discrepancies in his claims. While he served as an anti-tax lobbyist with Americans for Prosperity and later as the executive director of the Laffer Center, his role seemed more administrative, and he was not cited as an expert in tax policy by reputable publications. Ogles also made statements about his involvement in law enforcement, particularly in combating international sex crimes. He claimed to have worked in human trafficking, but News Channel 5 discovered that he was a volunteer reserve deputy with the Williamson County Sheriff's Office from 2009 to 2011, with his position ultimately revoked due to performance issues. The Sheriff's Office could not verify his work against international sex trafficking during that time. In 2011, Ogles worked as a chief operating officer for Abolition International, a non-profit organization focused on combating human trafficking. However, News Channel 5 questioned his level of involvement, as tax records indicated he held a part-time position that paid him $4,000 in total.
So there's the man that is going to uncover 100 years of secrets. Protect the whistleblowers and account for all the spending on the black project's budget. Or maybe can you see a pattern in which everything that was predicted in 2001, is happening now? What was said? By who? Is it credible? Let's watch a piece of the Disclosure Project National Club press conference in 2001.
Good morning, my name is Carol Rosen. In 1974, after being a sixth grade school teacher, I was introduced to the late Dr. Wernher von Braun in the U.S., the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, "Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space." And I said, teachers don't stop until June. He said, "No, you have to understand, this is February, and we have to prevent the weaponization of space because there is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies," he said, "against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system. The first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids." And then he would repeat to me over and over, "And the last card, the last card, the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat." Well, at the time, I kind of laughed when he said asteroids, and when he said extraterrestrials, I knew I wasn't going to deal with that subject. And now we hear on the news just today, this week, that they've slid in another enemy. Only this time we're going to protect our satellites. In other words, we have to have some reason to spend these trillions, to waste these dollars on a space-based weapon system, and they're all lies. This is a system, he told me, that would never protect anyone. Even back then, he talked about suitcase bombs. He talked about chemical, viral, bacterial, biological warfare, that these space-based weapons would never protect us against. And then he told me that, in fact, if you travel around the world, which I did after he died in 1977, I met with people in over 100 countries who were friends. They didn't want to build space-based weapons. I became a space and missile defense consultant And I worked with people around the world. I became an advisor to the People's Republic of China. They don't want to build a space-based weapon system. And he told me back then that they didn't. He said, go to Russia. They're considered to be the enemy. I got on a plane by myself. When I got to Russia, I had a list of people that I had read out of the newspaper. Chernenko was in office then. He was the only one I didn't get a chance to meet. They introduced me to everyone when I got there. And when I got back, I said, oh my Lord, this man is telling the truth. There is no threat. And I've been waiting until this day for 27 years, and I'm expecting the spin to happen, because he also explained to me that as a military strategist, as a person who worked on the MX missile, which I did later, he said, you will find that there is going to be a spin to find some enemy against whom we have to build space-based weapons. And now we should expect the spin, because he said part of the formula for the intelligence community is if they might have a weapon, then we have to consider that they do have these weapons. So now they do have these weapons, so now we have to build these weapon systems. And that's the formula, except that it's all based on a lie. And we have witnesses here today that have shown you that these extraterrestrial beings, that these craft that have come here are now not UFOs, they're identified flying objects, and we know that they have beings in them. And we have witnesses here who have told you that they can shut down our missile silos, they can stop a rocket going into space that's a test. We have witnesses here who have worked in the classified departments, who have the courage to come forward here to support what Wernher von Braun told me back in 1974 to 77. And I will testify before the Congress that when I founded the Institute for Security and Cooperation in Outer Space, which I shut down a few years ago because I didn't believe we had a chance with this huge, integrated around the world, complex weapon system, that we had any chance at all of transforming that war industry into a space industry that could provide benefits, like Dr. Greer has said, of global warming. We can end that situation of that problem. We can end the energy crisis. We can build now non-polluting technologies. Wernher von Braun used to tell me that we could have cars back then that drove around off the ground. He described this to me on beams so that we have no pollution on this planet. And we can solve the problems of the people that are urgent and potential, and the other animals and the other cultures on Earth and in space. And we can end the arms race without dislocating the industry jobs, without disrupting the economy, by transforming, Wernher von Braun told me, the war industry into a global cooperative space industry that will provide, he said, finally, more jobs and profits on this planet than during any hot or cold wartime, more products and services that can be applied directly to solving the problems of this planet. And we can have a whole planet now that lives in peace on Earth, with all the cultures on Earth and with all the extraterrestrial cultures in space. And these are words that Wernher von Braun told me in 1974, and I will testify before the Congress under oath about everything I have said and more. Thank you.
In the last fiscal year, an astonishing $380 billion has seemingly disappeared from the Pentagon's accounts, raising questions about the potential role of privatization, compartmentalization, and hidden manipulation by shadow entities. As the search for accountability intensifies, concerns mount over the lack of transparency and oversight within the defense budget. Privatization has allowed certain defense activities to fall outside traditional scrutiny, concealing financial transactions and decision-making from public view. Compartmentalization, through the creation of secretive projects and operations, has obscured the flow of funds and accountability, making it challenging to trace the missing billions. The shadow government, operating in the shadows beyond the reach of public scrutiny, is suspected of exerting control and influence over the financial mechanisms within the Pentagon. The manipulation of strings behind the scenes has resulted in the unexplained disappearance of these vast sums. As this alarming financial mystery unfolds, the urgency to shed light on these unaccounted funds and hold those responsible to account grows. The implications for national security and the democratic process cannot be underestimated, as the apparent absence of such a significant sum raises critical questions about how taxpayer money is being managed and who is ultimately benefiting. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and as a human, never stop asking questions.